Here.
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 Miss Anita did request excused absence. I'm not sure where Bob is. His papers are here, so he may show up late. Please read the Open Public Meetings Act statement.
Here.
Bob is here.
Yeah, you're late.
This meeting has been closed to the public officially and is being live streamed via Zoom. Any comments from the public that are received via email no later than 4 p.m. by the municipal clerk will be read and discussed by mayor and council at the council meeting or in public comment. Notice that this remote meeting is posted on our website. Instructions on how the public can connect to live stream account.
I will read my Zoom disclosure. During the public comments part of the meeting, if you'd like to speak, please click the raise hand button and we will be notified of your request to talk. The mayor will recognize you and your microphone will be unmuted to allow you to speak. Once you have completed speaking, your mic will be remuted. For security reasons, we cannot recognize anyone who is listed as anonymous or a phone number that is not identified. When you are recognized and unmuted, you must first state your name and address before saying anything. Failure to do so may result in your being muted and/or disconnected. On computers, the raise hand button can be found in the webinar controls section, typically at the bottom of your screen. If you raise your hand by accident, please feel free to lower your hand. If you're only joining by dialing in, you can simply dial *9 and toggle between raise hand and lower hand. On a mobile device, the raise hand and lower hand buttons are typically found in the lower left corner of the screen. This meeting will also be live streamed on YouTube. There's a roughly 20-second delay in the process. YouTube chat will no longer be used for public commenting. This time I ask for a moment of silence. Last meeting, we did not get to mention that Raymond Birchler had passed away. Raymond obviously was the proprietor of a Birchler Real Estate office here. He was a very long time member of the planning board of the borough of Lavallette, and he was very prominent as well in the first aid squad for many years. He was the son of one of our former mayors, Roman Birchler. He was on West Point Island for a while and he had just recently moved over to Beechwood. Correct, Bob. Thank you. So I ask for a moment of silence for Ray Birchler and anyone else that you may have in your thoughts, after which I will ask Councilwoman Philippone for the pledge.
Please stand. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting. It is definitely February 8th. There's ice out there. BPW has been doing a pretty good job of keeping everything clean out there and not too much overtime because of it. Of course, we're not getting the kind of snow that they are in North Jersey. 18 inches, I heard.
30
in
some places.
18 in Monmouth County.
18 in Monmouth County, 30. Whew.
Yeah,
So,
up in Bergen and Sussex, 30 inches.
I know that we have over 11 pieces of equipment ready to roll. I thought we might get to see that new bucket on the front end loader, but I'm happy that we didn't. And that means there wasn't enough snow to use it. So,
Thursday.
well,
Another shot
we're
on
expecting
Thursday,
another
it's a
shot on
Friday.
Thursday, yes.
Tuesday is-
Mhm.
all
Let's,
right?
let's hope it's nothing, but we are prepared in the event that we get inundated with some snow. Okay, at this time, I'm going to ask for reports. We have the construction report from Councilwoman Philippone.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. January 2021, 35 permits issued, 4 updated. Revenue generated was $22,298, minus $1185 to the DCA, leaving us with $21,113, a little bit lower than we've been running, but January is a tough month. That breaks down to $10,388 for building, $5330 for electric, $2715 for plumbing, $2480 mechanical, $200 fire, 88 building inspections, 46 electric, 25 plumbing, 1 mechanical, 8 fire. No certificates of occupancy, but 27 certificates of approval and no penalties or notices. Mr. Brin also provided for me, which I believe you all have a copy of the yearly figures as compared to 2019. interesting, and you have to realize what you're reading and what it all means. In 2019, the balance of our construction trust fund was $475,637.64. At the end of the year, the closing balance was $477,965.23. The revenues for the UCC were $316,483, and the expenses were $465,300. So we used some of the trust fund to cover our expenses in construction. $2,702. It's all broken down, but I'm going to give you just the highlights. $2,702 for inspections, and certificates of approval were in the positive. The zoning is where we went down in monies last year, 2019. About 30,000 deficit in the zoning compared to expenses. When you compare that now to 2020, and remember 2019, we had no COVID, which is very interesting to me. In 2020, we opened with the 477,965. We ended with 477,076. Our expenses, our revenues were 301,159. Our expenses were 302,048. I'll leave off the change. The inspections are about the same, 2,800. The certificates were about the same, 200 and less than 50. The zoning in 2020, the revenues were 58,508, and the expenses were 42,027. So it wound up with a plus 15,591. So we made some adjustments from 2019 to 2020 with zoning hours for Susan and Tom and whatnot, and with the revenues coming in at roughly the same level as last year, but the expenses going up, the revenues and zoning going up to balance out the expenses, we actually came up ahead. So as long as we're doing this, the money's coming in, the money's going out, the money's coming in, the money's going out. That's the purpose of the trust fund. You're not supposed to make a profit. We hold it in the trust fund. We use it to pay the expenses to run the department, and we come out smelling on the same side of the rows when we're done at the end of the year as compared to when we start at the beginning of the year.
Sounds like our fees are right on the money then.
Yes, and also there were little changes, and not that we did it, but the UCC made some changes. For instance, there's no permits for roofing and siding except for certain materials that you might use. There was no mechanical permits before. Now there's this whole category of mechanicals that UCC regulation. We had made a few adjustments as the UCC made some recommendations for changes. But basically, we're running, other than that whole mechanical thing, we somehow made up the difference. Roofing and siding were big numbers for us for many years. It's probably the basis for renovations in many of the categories, but we can't charge unless you use, I think it's, I forgot the name of it, the Cedar Shake.
Certain Cedar Impressions.
Cedar Impressions, thank you. I couldn't come up with it. For siding and a certain kind of roofing shingle that you need a permit. Most of them you don't, and replacement you don't. So I think we're on the right track. I'm not recommending any changes. I'm certainly not recommending any additional personnel, nor any deletion of any personnel, or even any changes in hours. I like that we have flexibility among all of our inspectors and our personnel, so that, if you can't be there, I can work more, that kind of time. They work it out themselves. It has not posed any issue whatsoever. So I'm happy with that.
Very good.
Starting, and I have a police report, starting with January last in 2020, we had 28 hours of overtime in the month of January. In 2021, we have 144 hours of overtime, which is a plus 116. And Colin usually gives me a breakdown of where those overtime hours were spent. I didn't get that, but what I'm getting at, if you all get a copy of the police thing, what we're doing now is a breakdown of which officers are being charged or paid, I should say, for the overtime and where it was. For instance, this one officer has 42 hours of overtime to cover a shift, another officer 16 hours of overtime to cover a shift. And then we have our one of our records clerks with 72 hours to cover the desk, which means that people that are normally there weren't there, and it's got to be covered. We can't get away with it. And 8 hours for special assignment. You get a little better idea of where the overtime needs are. The shift coverage has been the same. It is what it is until we get a few people back from work. The desk coverage, I'd have to look into more closely to see how and why that happened. I don't think we need to hire anybody else, but we have 6 hours in court too, and 6 hours of court coverage. So that happens when the officer has to be at the court in order to adjudicate the case. But I'm just the beginning, 1 month.
Okay, thank you. I know you don't have the rest of,
No, I don't.
municipal court. Bob, you have a public works report. I see a hand out here.
You know what, I'd just like to, besides our day-to-day operations, but a few things I just wanted to discuss is that we talked about the infiltration that we've had and how it was creeping up and getting higher and higher. And we had our public works guys pulling the caps off at various areas during the night to see if there's any activity in those areas. We found one place on Bond Avenue where it looked like one of the people are using it as where they're putting it right into the
Sump pump discharge.
Yeah, discharge. We addressed that area, and I guess that's still being discussed, what we're going to do about that person, but it's no longer an issue there. Then we found 3 different spots, McGee, Brown, and Vance, actually, where it looks as though that when we had the road construction and all the construction on our highway, that there's 3 areas there. They look like they have separated in some way. We don't know the extent of what the damage may be, and we don't know what it's going to take to make the repairs. Right now, we're not looking at really high numbers in order to make those repairs, but we don't know exactly. We're going to try to have O'Donnell Stanton take a look to see if the road needs to be torn up to get to those areas. Oswald, who has done the videotaping and has done always a good job, they usually can make those repairs, but they can't even do it on this one. We're going to have to find another construction company.
So are these under the highway road
Yes.
bed? It's under the
Yeah,
highway.
it looks like almost like something that the state did, but the bonding has been done.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't look like we can recoup any monies from the state for this, but the good news is the south end's really good. They looked at all the various spots there, and it just looks like these 3 areas that have an issue. I don't know if Mr. Bryce has any more information on that. I know that we're going to talk to O'Donnell Stanton. I don't know if we have.
They are going to look at it. They haven't looked at the tapes yet. It seems to be specifically where the linings that we had previously, lined pipes, tie in with the state project, that there may be infiltration occurring there. So we have to figure out how we're going to go ahead and repair that lining in that area. And that's why they want to consult with Jack. Just as far as the overall goes too, we just did receive our metered flow data from the county. For 2020, we ended up having 171 million. The year before that, we were 169. And then the year before that, we were at 171. So we thought that we were on pace to go a little lower in the summer, but with the fall, we had some record readings in this system here. So we were right back to our highest year, which was 2019 at the 171.
But that area right there where the repairs can be made, according to the superintendent, thinks that will stop a lot of the infiltration. He mentioned that to you too? up.
Yeah, he said, based upon what's going through there.
Exactly.
In the
So it
off
seems like
hours.
that could be a big area. The other thing is that there's one of our residents were complaining about the blacktop and the construction concrete that's always down in our bay areas. And, you know, I don't know how many times we've said this over the years. If it wasn't for that blacktop and that concrete that's down on that bayfront, the bay would be almost on top of Bay Boulevard. That holds that whole area at bay. We still get such erosion. We're discussing what we're going to do with that erosion. I know there's the project coming up, but I don't know if that's going to solve between, say, Camden.
No, it's still
and
going to move south. It's just going to get caught by that
Yeah,
jetty.
now we'd have to
But we
bring
have to bring it back, yeah.
Yeah, so
But at
it's,
least it won't get caught under the bridge.
but to remove those,
No,
that blacktop.
we've
is-
discussed that numerous times in the last
I think what
15
happens
years.
is people move into town and then they see that and they think it's something like we're living in a deprived area somewhat, but that's not the case. That really holds that whole area stable. Yeah. exactly.
That's how they used to dispose of the road debris,
Right,
the
yeah,
construction
exactly.
debris. They used to fill that in down there. My dad used to take me down there to go crabbing, and they would be underneath the slabs of concrete and scoop them out down there. So they've been there a long time. They're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Mayor, can I just make one comment? On the infiltration report, I looked at that, not that I understand it all completely scientifically, but I think we have to take into account that in 2020, our population from March through December is somewhat higher than it was the year before. So I'm not sure that we actually went up again because of an infiltration problem. We may have just gone up again because there were more people here.
Well, we can correlate that with usage of the fresh water. So we'll have
Well, I
to get the
think
figures
that's
there.
what, I think
If
that's.
they're up, then you know that is the case.
I kind of, somehow, that's what I concluded from what I read. I may be reading it wrong, but if you were 169 in 2019, 29, whatever it was, 2019, and then 70 in 2020, and then now we're back, I'm skipping a year. You went from 69 to 71, from 71 to 69, and now back up to 71. Going back up from last year to from 19 to 20 is not necessarily as bad as it might sound if we were just under normal population and normal situations. I mean, we were loaded from March, very heavy in the summer, and I can't calculate how many more people are living here, but there's more people living here since the COVID thing started. So,
Well, when we get some numbers on the repairs, we're gonna have to weigh that against the cost of
Do we-
treating the
do
additional.
we need permission from the state
Infiltration.
to open up that highway?
I'm sure that we
We're
will.
gonna have to get them in here.
I'm sure that we
um,
will.
It may be beyond the right of way of the state. That's what we're trying to determine. Where the curtilage ends, it might be beyond that.
Okay. All
And
right.
we're hearing some ballpark numbers. Again, we don't know until they actually look at it, but I was hearing numbers about 7,500 a street, that's
Not
really doable.
not bad.
Yeah,
Right.
but again, we don't know the
Yeah,
extent.
that is.
Yeah, that was really good, but that could be a pipe dream
Yeah.
until they start ripping up the street and see what's there.
Okay.
All right. Anita's not here for a public affairs report,
So she sends her regards from Florida.
I'm sure. We have the tax account report for January 2021, the tax collector's annual statement of receipts, and the revenue transaction report for December of 2020, and I will need a motion to accept the reports.
So moved.
Second,
Roll call, please.
Councilman Grassi,
Yes.
Councilman Pilgrim,
yes.
Councilman Stocco,
Yes.
Councilman Pinter,
Yes.
Councilman Lamb.
Yes.
That motion is approved. Moving on to the consent agenda, I will read the resolutions by number, accepting council comments along the way. At the end, we'll take a motion, a second, and the roll call. Number 62, authorizing the mayor to sign and execute an interlocal service agreement with the Ocean County Prosecutor's Office to participate in the Ocean County Prosecutors Program for the year 2021. 63, authorizing the treasurer to refund an electric credit in the amount of $454.26 for the property at 137 Newark Avenue that was paid in error by the title company. 64, authorizing a transfer of 2020 overpayments to 2021 taxes receivable. 65, refunding unused planning board escrow in the amount of $1,850 to Michael Goldman. 66, approving the annual certifications for all volunteer members of the Lavallette Fire Department who have qualified for credit under LoSAP program for 2020. 67, authorizing a refund of a 2021 tax overpayment amount of $7,051.83 due to payment of the first quarter being erroneously overpaid by quite a bit. 68, authorizing the employment of Connor Kavanaugh as a temporary laborer for the Department of Public Works at an hourly rate of $12 effective January 25th. 69, approving a facilities use application to Sherry Paris to hold her annual Marine Science Camp on the Bayfront between Washington and Philadelphia Avenues, as well as the gazebo from June 21st through 26th, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. She is a multi-year applicant with that. 70, approving 5 facilities use applications to the Lavallette Business Association for 2021, including the food truck event on June 26th, 5K run on June 26th, Patriot Bike Parade July 3rd, Soups of the Shore October 17th, and a gingerbread 5K on December 4th. 71, approving a facilities use application to the Lavallette PTO to hold Lavallette Colors Run on Saturday, May 22nd from 10 a.m. to 12 noon with a rain date of May 23rd. 72, authorizing the dates upon which Big Ed's Produce may exhibit merchandise outside the confines of his business in accordance with Chapter 50 of the Code. 73, approving the 2021 temporary capital budget. 74, consenting to the renewal upon conditions of the plenary liquor license held by Sherman Hospitality for the year 2021 under the terms of a consent order with the New Jersey Division of Alcohol Beverage Control. That is the Capriccio's ordeal. In order for them to comply with the ABC directive, they have to divest that license. They cannot divest the license unless the license is active. So we got to activate the license, then it will be divested immediately thereafter. And the conditions were the conditions that we adopted to restrict Capriccio's, I guess, 2 summers ago, that they could never get in compliance with, but the new owner nonetheless will be in compliance with.
The new owner will have to abide by those
We'll have to
conditions
agree to a transfer person to person
with those conditions.
with conditions.
Okay.
74A, authorizing the mayor to sign and execute the tolling agreement between Verizon Wireless and the Borough of Lavallette, agreeing to timeframe for Verizon to challenge the borough's resolutions with conditions for their 5 locations to be increased from 45 days to 95 days. At the last meeting, we did have the hearing about those applications, and we put 2 or 3 restrictions upon them. They strenuously objected at the meeting, and are now seeking, there's a shot clock that runs that certain things have to be done within certain time frames unless we mutually agree to extend those time frames. So this will keep us out of litigation and also buy us additional time. And number 74B, authorizing the filing of a CDBG application with the Ocean County Community Development Block Grant Committee for grant year 2021, and that is for the mats that Anita has proposed installing at the handicap ramp on President Avenue. Any comments on the consent agenda?
Yeah, Mayor, I have a couple of, just no opposition, but on 2021 70 and 71, the PTO and the LBA requests, just a reminder, with the 2 runs that are scheduled, the mapping takes them onto West Point Island, which is not a problem. 2 years ago when we had it, when they come off of West Point Island, we need to have the police department channel that traffic to go south on Bay Boulevard, to go left on Virginia, to go around.
Mhm.
Otherwise, that backup on West Point Island is horrendous because you have to wait for all the runners to go by. So just a reminder to them to
Can you
arrange
let the
that. with-
liaison to the police department know that?
Well, we can do, we can let the liaison to the LBA, let them know that. No, I don't have a problem with it. I just don't want to forget about it.
Okay.
Because that can be a problem. And also on the patriotic bike parade, on the application, it says that cleanup will be at 10:30. That's for 4th of July weekend. Beach opens at 10. The faster they get out of there, the better it's going to be. I don't know that I'm not going to hold them to a stopwatch, but they really should plan to be off there by 10. They can start breaking down that balloon thing at the one end as soon as they start off. And then they'll just have the end one on New York Avenue, probably closer to 10. It shouldn't take too long. I just don't want them conflicting with people going to the beach. It's a
Okay.
big weekend. If the weather's great, they're
Any other
good.
comments from council? I will accept a motion on the,
Mayor, I do have maybe a comment on 70 and 71 that we approve those with the stipulations that they abide by any prevailing public health rules and regulations at the time of the event,
Mhm.
okay,
including crowd sizes, whatever that may be at that point.
okay.
I'm hoping
Zero
it's all
Zero
gone by then,
restriction.
but I don't know if that's.
Let's hope. Okay, I will accept the motion on the
I'll
consent.
move
agenda.
it.
Second.
A roll call, please.
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilman Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilman Salzgill?
Yes.
Councilman Pinter?
Yes.
Yes.
And that motion is approved. Resolutions off consent, we have number 75, which is the bills list in the amount of $581,288.33.
So moved.
Second.
A roll call, please.
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilman Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilman Salzgill?
Yes.
Councilman Pinter?
Yes.
Councilman Lee?
Yes.
And that motion is approved. Ordinance is on for introduction, first reading. Bond ordinance number 2021-01. Refunding bond ordinance of the Borough of Lavallette, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, providing for the refunding of all or a portion of the borough's general improvement refunding bonds, Series 2012, appropriating an amount not exceeding $4,100,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $4,100,000 in general improvement refunding bonds of the Borough of Lavallette or refinancing costs thereof. So our bond counsel, in reviewing the bonds that we had issued in 2012, has determined that we can save a substantial amount of money by refunding at a lower rate. Mr. Bryce, you have the difference in the rates and the difference or the savings that we're going to realize through this refunding?
Well, it's all estimated at this point because once we get the sale approved, then given the rates that they're estimating, it's going to be about a 4.2% savings, roughly $176,000 over the next 15 years before they mature in 2026.
So these are not new bonds, and they are not going to exceed the original term of the original bonds that were issued back in the day and apparently refunded in 2012 at a savings.
Correct. They were water and sewer bonds from 2012.
Okay. Any comments from the council? I'll accept the motion.
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilman Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilman Salzgill?
Yes.
Councilman Pinter?
Yes.
Councilman Lee?
Yes.
And that motion is approved. Public hearing and final adoption is scheduled for February 22nd, 2021.
George Washington's birthday, just a reminder.
How old would he be, Bob?
Oh, boy. That's tough. Not that quick at math.
Google it.
Yeah.
All right. Old business, Dave?
Celebrations where they throw him out as one of our presidents.
Jim, anything?
Yeah.
Joanne, any old business?
No.
Bob?
Nope.
Michael?
No.
Mr. Price?
No, sir.
Old business. On to new business.
No.
Dave, Jim, Joanne,
No.
No.
Bob.
No.
Michael does.
Sorry to spoil the party. Just we had our meeting with our lifeguard captain, getting ready to go into next year. Basically, we're just looking to start the season where we ended it last year with no major changes to that. Couple of very minor changes. We will have the tent stand down on the south end of town. We ended that with we started last season with it all the time, realized really wasn't necessary during the week. We just had that during the weekend. We're going to start with just the weekend, see where we are. I mean, a lot of things are still up in the air with where we're going to be come summertime. So
That's for selling badges, Michael?
no, that's the lifeguard stand. I have that tent stand.
Oh, this tent
It's
stand.
the tent stand.
I thought you said a tent.
Oh,
Okay.
no,
Good.
10th. I'm sorry.
All
I'm
right.
taking this off for this.
Yeah, take it on, please. You're confusing me.
I'm hard enough to understand what,
Okay.
So that's essentially where we are. We also had like a lunch coverage last year as well because of keeping everybody, all the guards in kind of a pod to not intermingle. The plan is now, we're not going to need that, but we will be ready to go just in case. We're hoping not to need that again. But so that's kind of with the guards, that's really where we are. Badge checkers, really no changes up there, but that's going to basically be run the same as it was last year. No major changes there. Badge office, still going to be working out of the ball field snack stand. That worked excellent last year. There's plenty of parking. Even with the busy season last year, there was plenty of room, plenty of parking. People they didn't seem inconvenienced. They thought it was a great idea. So we have that. The only change to that is of course, starting the preseason sale. When you mail it in, we take credit card or check. Once the season starts this year, we will be accepting cash down at the snack stand. I do not recommend anybody mailing cash on the preseason. So credit card or check. Your cash in the mail is not insured. But once the season starts, we will be accepting cash down there. That is no change to the prices for this season. I will get a head start on the 22 season. I do anticipate an increase in the price for 22. You got the state mandated minimum wage. Let's see what federal does if that escalates at more than $1 an hour. So we have to stay on top of that. I do anticipate that. Outside of that, that is, as far as the 21 season, that is where we are.
Michael, I got a couple of telephone calls over the winter from some surfers who have asked if we could increase the number of surfing beaches. The problem is that these surf camps now have gotten so large that they kind of dominate the beaches, and it's difficult for individuals to try to compete for waves with those. And if we've got some extra room, if we could open up 1 or 2 additional
I will
surfing
speak with the
beaches.
lifeguard captain about that, see if we can open up additional surf beach
Or
two.
assign, the camps to one and see what his thought is on that.
Okay.
All right, very good. Appreciate it.
Mayor, before you go on, just a suggestion, Mike, Matt is working on the calendar.
Yes.
And the form for badges, et cetera, as
Right.
usual, will be in that.
Mhm.
I suggest that you check it so that the policy on cash and credit card and
Yeah,
and
we'll be
whatnot
going over
is
to me.
clear, because we did, we don't, we will, we
Right,
won't, you know. So we have an opportunity before that goes to print to make sure that
Okay,
that's
yeah.
the most current, up to
We'll
date.
make sure that gets checked out.
And I would highlight no cash in the mail. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know why you have to remind
that's
people,
their-
but I would.
Well,
I know.
I deal with it maybe 3 or 4 times a year. I mailed a deposit to you. It was cash. Why? Yeah, and then they
Can we
can
just
mail it in from
check
that time.
the policy, the payment policy, that's all, not the rest is fine.
And then once that'll, like you said, that'll go out on the 15th. You can start mailing your applications in, and then we will announce at a later date when those badges can start to be picked up. I do want to bring before the council a suggestion. Right now, we are changing badge prices through the ordinance. It would have to go through a change, meaning first reading, second reading, wait 30 days and then posting it. I would propose that we change that policy to be able to change the badge prices by resolution. Still have the discussion, will still be voted on. It just streamlines and makes it a little smoother process. But if we get to like this time of the year and we get a major change, it doesn't hamstring us to have to wait to sell badges. We can
So what that would entail, and I'm sure Mr. George will step in on this one, is creating the ordinance with a range of prices in there that we by resolution can set within the range.
Mayor, we could write the ordinance the same way we write the bicycle ordinance, because the hours for the bicycles are approved yearly through resolution, but the ordinance is in place that bicycles can actually be on that boardwalk for a period of time. It's just a reword. You have to, I think you'd have to reword the original ordinance to leave that opening so that the price per badge would be a yearly renewal.
We could probably get that done
Yeah,
by
and
this
like I
season if
said,
you want,
nothing's
Michael.
gonna happen for this season. This season, the prices are staying the same as last
Do
season.
you want them to work on the ordinance now so that we have that flexibility?
Yeah, that would
Because
be-
we
that
do
would
have
be
the beach
advantageous.
replenishment specter
Exactly,
floating
yes.
around out there,
Yes.
which may require us to fund some of that should it ever come here. David mentioned that to me earlier, so that would give us some flexibility with that. Mr. George, comments on that?
Yes, Mayor. You're right now, your beach badges are set by ordinance at section 7-9. We would amend 7-9, as Councilwoman Philippone said, we did it many years ago to set the bicycle rates. And it would simply say it's to be set annually by resolution. What you should do for the marketing of the new rates to start letting everyone know is set a date to set those ordinance by. And generally, since you start even selling them at the new year for the holidays, you probably want to set the new ordinance date to set the rates at somewhere around December 1st or December 15th. But it's not that hard to do. We'll amend section 7-9. We can actually have it ready for introduction at the next meeting once you review it, and it would be effective for the rates for 2022. So this year, as Councilman Stogdell says, they're going to stay the same for this year, but we'll make it effective for the rates effective for 2022.
Michael, do you think that we ought to make the date that we set it by early enough to incorporate the Christmas
Yes,
sales? So
I would say somewhere around the middle of November even maybe
November.
to set that.
We only have
Because-
one meeting in November, so you
Right,
could say
so
at
for
the
the
Yeah.
November meeting, because we start selling them
or
right
even,
after Thanksgiving, so.
even the second meeting in October. There's no reason.
Mr. Mayor, I don't think we should be putting the actual cost in the resolution. I think that should be decided by the council at the time.
yes, it won't be, just the ability to set the fee.
Yes.
In the
There
resolution,
will be, he's not
the
talking about a
resolution?
range here, so it's just,
Yeah,
we
you
can
just-
set it.
you're not gonna
Right.
put, you're not gonna put the amount
No.
in the
No.
ordinance, but in the
No,
resolution,
right.
you have to specify exactly what the amount is.
Right, and.
That's
and
correct.
as a-
I think Councilman Stogdell mentioned that I'm not sure that we should set a range. We get too many variables for our beach between storms and the Corps of Engineers and beach replenishment. And I would suggest that we do not set a range. You've always been extremely cautious with the rates and kept them to the minimum to operate the season, although that's very expensive. But I don't recommend a cap because all you need is one emergency you'd have to violate the cap. You may not have time to do it in time.
You don't
Alright.
have to put it in the fees.
No, you
in
just
the fee
build it into
ordinance?
the resolution.
Okay,
So just to be clear, there is no beach badge price increase for the 2021 season.
Correct.
Correct.
There may be one in the 2022 season, and that'll be set in November of 2021 if
As
we
our
believe
clerk
we need
said,
it.
we'd have to, in last meeting in October, and then I approve it in the.
The only meeting
November.
in November.
Right.
Okay.
mid-November.
Very good.
Right, yes.
It's just before the.
And this way, it's
convention.
plenty of time for the preseason sale, we have it, and then it's set for the following year.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Let's just
and
get it
we're
on next,
usually ready at that time.
next meetings.
Mr. Bryce, any new business?
I do, Your Honor. Your Honor. Mayor. Get back in court, sorry. I've been in contact with Ocean County regarding the President Avenue and then the West Point Island flooding as well. We're going to be discussing the West Point Island issue more with them. This time of year is where we normally meet with them. However, this year it's just going to be all through written communications. So we will be preparing something to send over to them for the West Point Island flooding, which we've been getting a pretty steady amount of complaints on. However, the one that's still going on is President Avenue. Today, the county did talk to the contractor regarding the check valves. They've been unable to do anything with the check valves as far as reactivating them due to the abnormal low tide elevations and weather conditions. The contractor is going to be monitoring it and trying to catch the right low tide. They anticipate it should be soon that they'll be able to get those valves reinstalled at that site.
So it's been the lack of low tides that's hindered them. The water's been too deep to fix them.
That's what I was told is due
Yes.
to abnormal low tide elevations and weather
And
conditions.
it makes a little more sense.
There was, as you received word, some damage to that site today. It appears to be just the cross member beams that go from piling to piling. The county's been advised of that too, and they'll be evaluating that.
I'd assume that was ice damage.
I think so. I mean, I'm surprised it ripped those lag bolts right off
Yeah,
there.
no kidding.
They're pretty big bolts, and there's 4 of them on each
Which street was that?
one of those.
President, the
President
new
Avenue
outfall
outfall pipe.
pipe.
Gotcha.
And then just a heads up, we will be sending out the floodplain officer will be sending out a substantial damage determination and compliance letter just to advise residents. There's 51 residents that did receive a substantial damage letter. There's 5 in the process of mitigating that we know about, but we suspect there's others that have mitigated and just never got the paperwork to us. So they're sending the letter out, just advising them that the deadline is coming up for October 29th for the National Flood Insurance policy to be compliant with mitigation efforts. That may get extended, it may not get extended, we're not sure. Normally we find out around end of April, but they still want to go ahead and just give them, a long enough heads up to be able to prepare for it. As I said, a lot of them may actually have the work done. They just did not submit the proper paperwork to us. So I think that if nothing else comes out of this, even if it gets extended, we can bring that list below the 51.
All right, anything else?
That's it.
Excellent. That takes us to comments from the public. Matt?
Oh, lots of people did that.
Good evening, Al.
Al Jones, 113 Reese Avenue. I was just wondering what the season price of beach badges will be for this year. Last year, it was originally $50 preseason and $60 during the season. But then it ended up being $50 for the whole year. Which of them is it going to be for 2021?
Yes, Mr. Jones, this year the preseason price will be $50. And then once the season starts, the season badge will be $60.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So while we're waiting for some hands, we'll move on to council comments. Jim, anything?
Mayor, I neglected to inform you, we did lose another resident, a summer resident from President Avenue, Mr. Tevlin. Tom Tevlin passed away.
Tom Tevlin.
Yeah, his grandson is the one who
Right.
the park was named after. He was a fixture at so many of the Sunday evening concerts each summer. Yeah, his obituary is quite impressive. I think I learned a lot about him in the obituary that we didn't know about him, but he's a great guy, and he was a fixture in La Brea. That would be missed.
Absolutely. Sorry to hear that. Was it COVID related?
I think the people that were shoveling snow died from COVID.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Joanne, any comments? Any more hands, Matt, in the meantime? Dave, comments? Bob?
Nope.
Michael? Mr. Bryce? Last call for hands on the public. All right, next meeting, the 22nd of February, 7 PM. Appropriate motion is a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All in favor? Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Be well and be safe.